She said she needed space, then took her ex to a family vacation. I packed her things, blocked her entire family, and sent her on the ultimate solo journey, with an inventory list and a delivery receipt. She said she needed space the same way people say they need air, with theatrical sighs, palms pressed to their sternum as if their heart has been working overtime. Ava had always been a talented performer. Her voice got soft at the edges, a violin sliding toward a sad note. "I need to figure myself out, Noah," she said, twisting the silver ring I'd given her for her birthday. "No contact, please. Just space." No contact. The phrase landed with a sterile thud. I nodded, because when someone asks for distance, you don't drag them closer. I watched her pack a tote with a sweater and a book of poems she never finished. She kissed our dog on the head, not me, said she'd be at her parents' for a few days, then with her sister Sophie. "Family is safe," she added, the way you might say, "water is wet." The first week tasted like metallic silence. I worked, I walked the dog, I arranged my coffee cups with the precision of a surgeon stalling for time. When habit reached for her name, my hand closed around air. I didn't call. I didn't text. I gave her the space she requested and tried not to notice how big our bed looked around me, like a stage set where the lead had slipped out the side door. On day 10, Ava's mother posted an album titled Family Time. Sun Palm Tree, because the universe sometimes writes its own punchlines. Lydia's captions were always maximalist. 3 exclamation points where 1 would do. The second photo froze me. Lydia, Ava's father, her brother Luke, and Ava herself, all glowing with that easy vacation light you can't buy. The fourth photo managed to be worse. Ava laughing with Mark, the ex-boyfriend with the boy band jawline she once called a high school fever dream. The 8th was a group dinner, string lights and cocktails, with Ava practically in Mark's lap. He held her by the small of the back like he'd worn that gesture in. The album was public. Lydia tagged liberally. My thumb hovered over the screen, then moved methodically. Screenshots, timestamps, URLs. My heartbeat did its angry drum solo. Then it slowed. A gear clicked into place inside me. She needed space. I gave it a shape. I pulled out the folding table from the closet and turned our spare room into a shipping department. There's a kind of peace you find in bubble wrap, the hush it makes when you smooth it over something fragile. I set a box down and made a spreadsheet. Columns. Item, category, box hashtag, photo ID, condition. Then a column I labeled sentiment, because I was feeling like a poet with a barcode gun. Box 1, winter coats, hers. Wool camel trench, puffer, 2 scarves. Box 2, shoes, white sneakers, scuffed, but vintage in her language. Ankle boots, heels she loved but always complained about after 40 minutes. Box 3, books, half-read poetry, a dog-eared travel guide to Lisbon we never used, a copy of Milk and Honey with notes in the margins that were more about the font than the feelings. Box 4, bathroom, her skincare routine, a NASA-grade armory of serums that promised youth in dropper bottles. Box 5, kitchen, the lemon zester she insisted we needed for a tart we never baked, the copper mug she called her Moscow Mule chalice. Box 6, art supplies, gouache tubes, the sketchbook with 3 unfinished oceans. Box 7, jewelry, costume mostly, plus the small velvet box with her grandmother's pearl earrings. I wrapped those like they were a newborn planet, triple bubble, then a rigid case, then foam peanuts, then a note on top. Box 7, item 12. Photo IDs 312 to 317. I took photos of each box's contents, then printed QR codes that linked to a private album with those photos. I slid a copy of the inventory into each box and emailed a PDF to myself like a man notarizing his own sanity. It took 2 evenings and the better part of a weekend. I didn't cry. The work did not leave room for it. On Monday, I called a courier company. 12 large boxes, insured, tracked. Signature required. Destination, Lydia and Gary. Ava's parents, attention both. The rep quoted me a price that would make a lesser man falter. I gave my card number. Space, I reminded myself, costs money in a city like ours. The day the tracking page pinged delivered, I changed the code to the front door, toggled my relationship status to single, blocked Ava, blocked Lydia, blocked Luke, blocked Sophie, blocked Mark, and because I knew how this family operated, blocked 3 cousins and a family friend who'd once tried to sell me essential oils at Thanksgiving. The dog wagged, indifferent and perfect. I made pasta for one and didn't overcook it in the nebulous hope she'd walk in late, hungry. For 3 weeks, silence stretched, soft-edged and clean. I went to the gym. I unmuted the parts of myself I'd been shushing. Friends who had watched me talk myself into smallness over the past year started looking relieved when they saw me. The quiet had weight but not teeth. Then my phone rang from an unknown number. "Hi," said a voice made of carefully arranged glass. "It's me." I tasted her name but didn't say it. "What can I do for you?" "I've done a lot of thinking," she said, "because cheaters prefer the language of essays. I'm ready to talk. To figure us out. There is no us to figure out." Silence, like a stagehand dropped a sandbag in the wings. "What?" "Noah, we took a break. I needed space." "That doesn't mean." "You asked for no contact. You found it. Also, your mother's public album featuring you with Mark at a resort made your definition of space awfully specific." Her breath made a hitching sound. "Oh my God," she tagged him. "My mom doesn't understand privacy online." "Clueless or complicit," I said. Either way, it made the picture clear. "It was complicated," she said. "It just happened. It was a family trip. He's friends with Luke. We were just..." Things do not just happen across state lines in matching swimsuits. You're being cruel. I'm being concise. Your belongings were delivered to your parents' house 3 weeks ago. 12 boxes. Inventory included. Your dad signed. Delivery receipt ends in 4,973. You what? The voice sharpened. My grandmother's earrings. Box 7, item 12, I said. Bubble wrap, rigid case, foam. Photo IDs 312 to 317. QR code on the packing list takes you to the album. Signature. G.H. Gary. Time-stamped 10:42 a.m. You can't just do that. You asked for space, I said, steady as a metronome. I made it easier to travel. The next voice belonged to Lydia, who must have been hovering nearby like an understudy. Young man, what do you think you're doing to my daughter? With respect, Lydia, this is between Ava and me. Or rather, it was. You've humiliated her, Lydia hissed. I pictured coral lipstick and righteous anger. That album was family. You invaded our privacy by looking at something we posted publicly. And you sent her things like she was discarded. It's amazing how cause and effect feel new when they're not yours. If you'd prefer, you can call it a curated transition. Fix this, Lydia said, the way some people say, fetch. Ava was ready to work things out. To clarify, I said. She was ready to keep me on a waiting room chair while she met with her ex in the VIP lounge. You're heartless, Lydia snapped. After everything we've done for you. Which is precisely why I insured every box. I hung up and blocked the number. 2 evenings later, I came home to find Ava sitting on the front steps with Lydia perched beside her like a severe gargoyle in athleisure. We need to talk, Ava said, eyes reddened, voice pitched for the neighbor's sympathy. I don't think we do, I said, keeping my voice low. This building has thin walls and I have thicker boundaries. She stood. You blindsided me. You changed the door code. You shipped my life. I helped you pack for the journey you started. She took a step closer, and the dog, who has impeccable taste, leaned behind my leg. It was a mistake, she said. I was confused. Mark means nothing. Mark didn't look like nothing. Lydia rose like a court bailiff. You have to admit you're being petty. QR codes. An inventory. You're trying to assert control. I'm trying to end it cleanly, I said. Petty would have been tagging Mark's fiancée under Lydia's album. Clean is an insured courier and a delivery receipt. Lydia frowned. Mark isn't engaged. Ava's head whipped toward her mother. Fiancé. Her voice cracked on the last syllable like a stone on glass. I hadn't planned to say it. It slipped out, then hung there, glittering. You didn't know. The ring looked like she said yes to a small moon. She posts a lot on her page, I added, and then regretted it. Not because it was cruel, but because I'd promised myself not to step into the mess any deeper than necessary. I had drawn my borders. I wanted to respect them. Ava's face went white in the porch light. He said it wasn't serious, she whispered almost to herself. He said. I don't know what he said, I replied. I only know what people do. Lydia reached for her daughter's arm. We are leaving, she declared, then spun to me. But this isn't over. It is, in fact, extremely over. They left. The night air felt like it had been ironed. I went inside and sat with the dog and didn't check my phone for the rest of the evening. 3 days later, a letter slid under my door like a thin accusation. Lydia, in her firm hand, claimed several items were missing. A winter scarf, Box 1, Item 3, Photo ID 042, a Polaroid camera, vintage, which in this family meant older than TikTok, Box 6, Item 4, Photo IDs 276 to 279, and the velvet jewelry pouch, Box 7, Item 12, a misunderstanding. Since the earrings had been removed from the pouch for additional wrapping, the pouch was in the same box, Item 13. She threatened further action. I wrote back in the margins of her letter like a high school English teacher. Scarf. See Photo 042 included in Inventory QR. Camera. Photos 276 to 279. Note sticker with the tiny avocado she placed there herself in 2021. Velvet pouch. Box 7, Item 13, Photo 318. The pouch was separate from the earrings to protect the pearls. Action. Please direct all additional questions to the courier's delivery log, which shows each box weighed within 0.3 pounds of origin weight. Signature on file. Gary. I left my note with the doorman for their inevitable return and went about my day. My friends staged an intervention disguised as trivia night. Miles, who masks empathy under sarcasm the way a nurse hides a needle in a joke, accused me of staging a heist movie. Who QR codes a breakup? He asked. I do, I said. It's like labeling the exits on an airplane. You also, said Hannah, did the most boring form of revenge. I'm proud of you. I laughed for what felt like the first time in a month. The next volley arrived as a flurry of texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Cousins, friends, acquaintances I barely knew, each a variation on how could you? And she was hurting. I blocked. It was like playing a whack-a-mole game in a mall arcade. Peace returned, pixel by pixel. Then came the call I hadn't anticipated. Noah. The voice was cautious, kind. This is Emma. I'm Mark's fiancée. I breathed in and found the part of me that wants to be decent. Hi, Emma, I said, and waited for the accusation. I'm sorry to intrude, she continued. I only wanted to say, thank you. Lydia's album popped up in my Discover feed and I messaged him. He confessed. I'm not calling to involve you, I've handled it. If you were wondering whether you imagined it all, you didn't. Thank you, I said, surprise softening something I hadn't named. I hope you're okay, Emma added. And I hope you never have to QR code anything again. We both laughed. I wished her well and hung up. Closure doesn't come as a single door clicking shut. It arrives like the mail, regular, occasionally late, sometimes with a package that's heavier than expected. A week after Emma's call, Ava sent one last message from an email address that dodged my blocks. The subject line read inventory question, which fooled only the part of me that wanted to be fooled. Inside, she asked for the copy of a video we shot the night before our anniversary trip, said she wanted to hold on to something good. And then, buried beneath pleasantries, she asked if we could talk finally, for real. The video file sat on a shared drive archived. The girl in the clip wore the sweater she'd packed for her space. I sent her a link, a courtesy that cost me nothing. Then I attached a second file, a PDF titled Final Delivery Receipt, which was, in truth, a single page with a single sentence. This concludes the shipment of our shared life, it read. No further packages will be sent or received. Below, for my own impish satisfaction, I'd pasted a photo of the courier receipt with Gary's signature and the timestamp. I didn't add a QR code. I expected anger. What came back was a line that felt like an echo in a cavern. You were always so thorough. She didn't say sorry. I didn't need her to. Apologies can be a kind of currency, and I'd stopped trading. Spring arrived like a clean page. I met the dog in the morning sun, and the barista started drawing foam hearts on my cappuccino again, which she refuses to do for men who look like misery. I returned to the spare room one Saturday and folded the collapsing table, stacked the leftover boxes, swept the last dust that had clung to the edges of the room. I opened the window and let the city's noise climb in. Bus brakes, laughter, a kid practicing trumpet badly but bravely across the courtyard. You don't get to choose the first sentence of a break, but sometimes you get to write the last. Mine was an inventory item, checked off in permanent ink. Boundaries, intact. Dignity, insured. Future, in transit, signature not required. And because I'm still me, I slid a copy of that list into a folder and labeled it Keep. Not because I plan to send it to anyone, not because I need to prove anything, but because sometimes the neatest thing you can do with your pain is put it where you can see it, name it, and file it under finished. Months later, after the story of my postal breakup made a small loop through our friend group, Friends Tell Stories. It's how they make sense of what you survived. I ran into Lydia at a farmer's market. She approached as if the space between us had always been ornamental. You made a spectacle, she said, selecting her words like overpriced heirloom tomatoes. Our family will never forget it. I sincerely hope not, I said, and tasted the sweetness of truth. Sometimes remembering is how people stop repeating themselves. She sniffed. Ava will find someone who doesn't send her life back in boxes. I hope she finds someone who doesn't ask for space as a cover story, I replied. In the meantime, we both have our receipts. She looked like she'd tasted something sour. You always liked your inventory. I like accuracy, I said. It leaves less room for fantasy. We parted. I bought a loaf of bread and felt lighter than a person holding carbohydrates has any right to feel. That night before sleep, I scrolled the album attached to the QR codes one last time. Box 7, item 12 stared back at me from a frozen square, the pearls shining under bubble wrap like small, stubborn moons. I deleted the album, then the links, then the backups. I left the spreadsheet intact, purely because it felt like a story with a spine. Proof that sometimes the neatest closure is the kind you pack yourself. And when an unknown number buzzed again weeks later, I didn't answer. I let it ring until silence took the call. Some journeys are best taken alone. Some deliveries don't need to be signed for. This one had already arrived.